The airport was alive with the usual noise of rolling suitcases, boarding announcements, and families rushing to their gates. Among the crowd walked Anna, a young woman in her late 20s. She was carrying a neat brown handbag and pulling a small blue suitcase behind her. She was tired but excited. This flight meant something special to her. After years of saving, she was finally traveling to a city where she hoped to begin a new job and a new life. Anna had always dreamed of comfort during travel, but money was often tight. She could only afford the economy ticket, yet she told herself that even sitting at the back of the plane was part of her adventure. But life had a strange way of throwing unexpected moments her way. When she reached the boarding gate, the airline staff scanned her ticket and directed her toward the aircraft. The line was long, but Anna didn't mind. She liked to watch people, businessmen with their polished shoes, parents juggling kids, and older travelers who walked carefully but proudly. Finally, she stepped inside the airplane. The cabin smelled of fresh air mixed with coffee. A soft tune played through the speakers. Anna looked at her ticket and then at the rows. Her seat number read 12A, a window seat. But when she reached row 12, she noticed something unusual. A man in a dark suit was standing beside the aisle, speaking quietly to the flight attendant. He looked calm, yet important. His presence was different, steady, composed, almost like someone who didn't rush for anything. Anna glanced again at her seat and saw that someone's jacket was lying on it. She looked around, a little confused. The man in the dark suit turned toward her at the same moment. "Excuse me," Anna said softly, "this is my seat 12A." The man gave a polite smile but didn't move. He was tall, with kind but serious eyes, and a voice that carried confidence. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said calmly. "I was hoping to sit here. I like the window seat." Anna hesitated. She was tired, and this was the one spot she had looked forward to. But she didn't want to cause trouble. The flight attendant stepped in gently, trying to ease the situation. "Sir, your ticket is for 14C. That's just 2 rows back." The man gave a small nod, but instead of leaving, he looked at Anna with quiet curiosity. "Would you mind if I sat here? It's a long flight. I'll make sure you're comfortable." Anna felt a little annoyed. Why should she give up the seat she had booked? She had worked so hard just to afford this ticket. She gave him a small smile but shook her head. "I'm sorry, but I really need this seat. I like the window too." The man studied her for a moment. There was no anger in his expression, only calm. Finally, he nodded. "Of course. It's yours." He picked up his jacket and stepped back. Anna slid into her seat quickly, relieved but slightly guilty. She watched him walk to his assigned seat 2 rows behind. Something about his manner bothered her. He wasn't rude. He wasn't pushy. In fact, he had been surprisingly polite. And yet, Anna felt as if she had judged him too quickly, as if she had protected something small while losing sight of something bigger. The flight soon took off. The engines roared, the plane lifted, and the city below shrank into a blur of lights. Anna pressed her face to the window, enjoying the view. She tried to relax, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the man behind her. Who was he? Why did he want her seat so much? After some time, the attendants served drinks. When they reached row 14, Anna noticed the man again. He declined everything except a glass of water. He spoke so politely, almost with gratitude. The attendants seemed to know him, giving him extra respect though he asked for nothing. Curiosity grew inside Anna. She wondered about his life. Was he a businessman? A professor? Maybe just a traveler like her? Hours passed, and when the cabin lights dimmed, most passengers began to sleep. Anna closed her eyes too, but she couldn't rest easily. She felt a strange mixture of pride and regret. She had stood up for herself, yes, but she also wondered if kindness would have been better. Near the end of the flight, the captain's voice came on, announcing the descent. People began to stir, fastening belts and stretching arms. Anna glanced back one last time. The man in the dark suit was calmly reading a notebook, his face serene. When the plane landed and passengers began leaving, Anna stepped into the aisle. Just ahead, the man was shaking hands with the flight crew. The captain himself came out to greet him. Anna froze, watching. The crew spoke to him with deep respect, almost like he was family to them. Then she overheard a single line that made her heart skip. "Safe travels, Mr. David. Thank you again for flying with your airline." Anna's eyes widened. "Your airline?" She stood still, gripping her bag tightly, as the truth sank in. The man whose seat she had refused was not just another passenger. He was the owner of the entire airline. And she had taken his seat. Anna stepped off the plane with her heart still racing. The line of passengers moved slowly toward the terminal, but Anna's mind was somewhere else. She could not forget the words she had just heard. The crew had called him Mr. David and thanked him for flying with his airline. Her hands grew cold as she walked. She had argued with him over his seat, in truth, and she had refused him without knowing who he was. She replayed the moment again and again, feeling embarrassed. But what shocked her even more was the way he had reacted. He hadn't argued. He hadn't demanded anything. He had simply smiled and given her the seat as if it didn't matter at all. Anna wondered what kind of person he was. Most rich people she had read about were proud, quick to show power, and eager to take what they wanted. But this man had been different. Quiet. Patient. Humble. It made her feel small inside, like she had missed something important. At baggage claim, Anna stood near the carousel, waiting for her blue suitcase. She tried to focus on her plans ahead. A new job was waiting for her in the city, and this trip was supposed to be about hope and beginnings. Yet she could not shake off the image of David's calm face. And then it happened. While she bent down to pick up her suitcase, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Excuse me, is that heavy? Do you need help?" Anna turned sharply. It was him. David stood there with the same quiet smile, his jacket neatly folded over one arm, his suitcase small and simple compared to his presence. Her throat went dry. For a moment she couldn't speak. Finally, she forced out words. "Oh no, thank you. I can manage." He nodded, not offended, and picked up his own bag. "Travel can be tiring. First time flying with us?" Anna blinked. "With us?" He said it as if he were part of the family of the airline, not just its owner. She decided not to hide. "Yes. And I should probably say sorry. I didn't know." Her voice trailed off, and her cheeks burned. David tilted his head gently. "Sorry? For what?" "For the seat," Anna whispered. "I didn't realize." David's eyes softened, and he gave a small laugh, not mocking but warm. "Ah, the seat. Don't worry about that. You had every right to it. You booked it, it was yours. I was only hoping. Life doesn't always give us what we want, does it?" His words surprised her. Instead of pride, he spoke with humility. Instead of anger, there was kindness. Anna looked at him carefully. "But, you own this airline. You could sit anywhere you like." David shook his head gently. "That's true in some ways. But rules exist for everyone, even for me. When I fly, I try to be just another passenger. It reminds me where I began. I used to sit at the very back, near the restrooms, dreaming of windows." The honesty in his voice struck Anna deeply. She felt her chest tighten. Here stood a man who had everything, yet still remembered the days when he had nothing. They walked side by side out of the terminal. The night air was cool, and the city lights stretched across the horizon. David looked around as if he belonged to every part of it, yet carried no pride in his step. "Do you live here?" he asked casually. "No," Anna replied, gripping her suitcase. "I just moved here today. I'm starting a new job tomorrow." "That's wonderful," David said, his tone genuine. "A new city, a new beginning. It takes courage." Anna gave a small smile. She had never been called courageous before. Mostly, people told her she was quiet, careful, or too reserved. But hearing the word from him felt like sunlight. They reached the taxi line. David stood beside her, waiting for his turn like everyone else, though Anna noticed several drivers recognized him. They wanted to wave him forward, but he lifted a hand politely, refusing. "One by one," he said softly. "No need to hurry." When her taxi arrived, Anna hesitated. She felt as though this brief meeting should not end so quickly. Something about him made her want to ask questions, to listen more, to understand the way he looked at life. As if sensing her thought, David smiled. "I hope your first day in the city goes well, Anna." She froze again. "You know my name." He pointed gently toward her suitcase. Her name tag hung from the handle in plain sight. "I pay attention," he said simply. Anna felt her heart beat faster. His calmness, his humility, and the way he noticed details, it all made her see him differently. Not as a powerful owner, not as a rich man, but as someone deeply human. "Thank you," she managed to say. "For being so kind." David's smile grew a little. "Kindness costs nothing. But it changes everything." The driver loaded her suitcase, and Anna stepped into the cab. As the car pulled away, she glanced back. David stood in the taxi line, jacket over his arm, patient as ever. For the first time in a long while, Anna felt something stir in her heart, something between admiration and wonder. She whispered to herself, "Maybe life is bigger than I thought." And little did she know, this was only the beginning of a connection that would change her journey forever. Anna woke up the next morning in her small apartment with nervous excitement running through her veins. The city outside was already alive with sounds: buses honking, vendors calling out, footsteps rushing on the streets. She stood by the window for a moment, looking at the skyline. The tall buildings seemed to whisper promises of opportunity and challenge. This was her first day at her new job. She had worked hard to get here, sending countless applications and attending many interviews. Finally, a travel company had accepted her as an assistant in their customer relations department. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, and it was a chance to grow. Anna wore a simple white blouse and a navy skirt. She tied her hair neatly and carried her brown handbag with care. Before leaving, she whispered to herself, "You can do this." The office building was tall but welcoming. The glass doors opened smoothly, and inside she found a world of busy energy: phones ringing, people greeting each other, the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. A kind woman from HR guided her to her desk and explained her role. Anna listened carefully, trying not to let her nerves show. The hours passed quickly. She answered emails, organized files, and helped customers who called about their bookings. Though it was tiring, she enjoyed being useful. But in quiet moments, her mind drifted back to the man from the plane, David. His calm smile, his humility, and the words he had spoken about kindness kept echoing in her thoughts. By evening, Anna left the office with a sense of pride. She had survived her first day. On the street outside, the golden light of sunset bathed the city in warmth. She walked slowly, soaking it all in. And then fate surprised her again. As she crossed the road near a small cafe, she noticed a familiar figure sitting at an outdoor table. A dark suit jacket, calm posture, notebook open in front of him. It was David. Anna froze for a moment. Her heart raced. She wondered if she should walk past quietly or if she should greet him. Before she could decide, David looked up and their eyes met. His smile came naturally, as though he had been expecting her. "Anna," he said, rising politely. "What a nice surprise." She approached slowly, feeling both shy and curious. "Hello, Mr. David." "Just David," he corrected gently. "Please, sit down if you have time." Anna hesitated but then agreed. She placed her bag on the chair beside her and sat opposite him. The cafe was peaceful, filled with soft chatter and the smell of roasted coffee. "You had your first day at work?" David asked. "Yes," Anna nodded, surprised he remembered. "It was busy, but good. I think I'll learn a lot." "That's the spirit," David replied. "Every beginning is hard, but it's also full of possibility." For a few moments, they sat quietly, sipping water the waiter brought. Anna studied him closely. He didn't carry himself like someone wealthy or powerful. His notebook was filled with neat handwriting, nothing flashy. His watch was simple. Even the way he listened made her feel valued, as if her words mattered. Finally, Anna asked the question that had been growing inside her since the flight. "Why do you live so simply, even though you own so much?" David closed his notebook and leaned back slightly. His eyes grew thoughtful. "Because wealth doesn't measure a person's worth. When I was young, I had nothing. I worked at airports cleaning floors. I used to watch passengers board planes and dream of being one of them. When I finally built my own airline, I promised myself that I would never forget those days. If I act proud, I lose the lessons that shaped me." Anna felt her chest tighten with emotion. His words carried weight, not because they were grand, but because they were true. She admired him even more now. "But don't people treat you differently?" she asked softly. "Of course," David admitted. "Many show respect because of my position, not because of who I am. That is why I treasure small, genuine moments. Like someone speaking honestly, without knowing my title. That's real." Anna lowered her eyes, remembering the seat on the plane. She had not treated him with admiration then, just fairness, even stubbornness. And yet, he valued that. The evening grew cooler, and street lights flickered on. David glanced at his watch. "I should let you go. You must be tired after your first day." Anna didn't want the moment to end, but she nodded. "Thank you for sharing your time with me." David gave a gentle smile. Time shared with good company is never wasted. As she stood to leave, David handed her a small card. "In case you ever need advice, or just someone to talk to," he said simply. Anna accepted it with both hands. The card had only his name and a phone number. No title, no company, no sign of his power. Just David. Walking back to her apartment, Anna held the card close to her heart. Something inside her felt changed. She had come to the city for a job, for a new life. But perhaps life had more in store than she had ever imagined. She whispered to herself, "Maybe he was meant to cross my path again." And for the first time in many years, Anna felt not just hopeful, but truly seen. The following week passed quickly for Anna. Every day she woke up early, dressed neatly, and hurried to her office. The tasks were sometimes tiring, but she was determined to prove herself. She wanted her boss to see her as hardworking and dependable. Still, at night when she lay in bed, her thoughts often returned to David. His gentle voice, his calm way of speaking, and his words about kindness played again in her memory. She still carried his card in her bag, but she hadn't found the courage to use it. She wondered if he even expected her to. One Monday morning, Anna arrived at work to find unusual excitement in the office. People were whispering, straightening their desks, and fixing their clothes as if something big was about to happen. "What's going on?" Anna asked her colleague, a cheerful woman named Maria. "Haven't you heard?" Maria whispered back. "The airline company we're working with is sending their CEO today. He's coming for a partnership meeting with our managers." Anna's heart skipped. The airline company. Could it be his? She didn't dare ask. Instead, she tried to focus on her emails. But her hands trembled slightly as she typed. By late morning, the atmosphere grew even more tense. The managers gathered in the conference room. Anna and the other assistants stayed at their desks, but from where she sat, Anna could see the glass doors of the meeting room. When the visitor arrived, she almost dropped her pen. It was David. He walked in calmly, wearing his usual dark suit, carrying only a slim folder. His presence filled the room, yet he greeted everyone warmly, shaking hands, smiling, and listening carefully to each introduction. There was no trace of arrogance, only quiet respect. Anna's chest tightened. She had known it might be him, but seeing him there, in her workplace, made her feel nervous and strangely proud at the same time. She wanted to hide, yet also wanted him to notice her. The meeting lasted more than an hour. Through the glass, Anna could see David speaking with gentle confidence, pointing to charts, and listening more than he talked. Her managers nodded often, clearly impressed. Finally, the doors opened, and the group stepped out. The managers accompanied David toward the exit, thanking him for his time. Anna bent over her desk, pretending to be busy. But then she heard his voice. "Anna." Her head shot up. David stood just a few steps away, smiling as though they were old friends. Her colleagues looked at her in surprise. "You know him?" Maria whispered, wide-eyed. Anna felt her cheeks flush. We met on the flight," she said softly. David gave a small nod, confirming her words. "Yes, we shared a good conversation. It's nice to see you here." Her boss, Mr. Harris, raised his brows. "Anna, you never told us you had connections with Mr. David." Anna quickly shook her head. "It's not like that. We just met by chance." David chuckled gently. "Sometimes chance brings the best connections." The managers laughed politely, and David excused himself, leaving for another appointment. But the moment left a deep impression. Her colleagues kept looking at Anna curiously, as if she had suddenly become more important in their eyes. After work, Anna walked out of the office building with her thoughts swirling. She had not expected David to recognize her, let alone speak to her so kindly in front of everyone. She wondered why he treated her with such attention when she was just an ordinary worker. That evening, as she unlocked the door to her apartment, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from an unknown number. "I hope your work went well today. It was good to see you again." David. Anna stared at the screen, her heart racing. He had kept her in mind. He had chosen to reach out. Slowly, she typed back, "Thank you. It was a surprise to see you. I am still learning at work, but I will try my best." Within minutes, his reply came. "That's all anyone can do, try their best. Remember, beginnings are never easy, but they are the foundation for something greater." Anna held the phone close, feeling warmth spread through her chest. She had never received such encouragement before, especially from someone like him. In the days that followed, their connection grew quietly. Sometimes David would send her short messages, a kind reminder to rest, a question about her day, or a thought about life. His words were never heavy, but they always carried meaning. For Anna, each message felt like a gift. She began to look forward to them, her heart lifting whenever her phone buzzed. It wasn't just admiration now. It was something deeper, something she didn't yet have the courage to name. One evening, as she sat by her window looking out at the glowing city, she whispered to herself, "Why me? Out of all the people he meets, why does he notice me?" The answer didn't come. But in her heart, she felt that fate was weaving something she could not yet understand. And far across the city, David sat in his quiet home, smiling at the thought of Anna. For all his success and power, it was her honesty, her sincerity, and her simple heart that made him feel something rare, something he had long been searching for. The story between them was only beginning to unfold. The weeks slipped by, and the rhythm of Anna's new life grew steady. She worked hard every day, learned new tasks, and slowly grew more confident in her role. Her colleagues began to respect her for her patience and quiet strength. Yet deep inside, Anna carried a secret, one that she hardly admitted even to herself. Every message from David felt like a light in her day. Sometimes it was a simple greeting, sometimes a thought about courage, sometimes a small story from his travels. His words were never long, but they always touched her heart. She saved every message, reading them again at night when the city outside fell silent. But with that warmth also came confusion. Why did he care so much about her? Why did he keep reaching out when his life must have been filled with important people, meetings, and responsibilities? She was just an ordinary employee in a small company. Anna tried to push the questions away, but her heart refused to stay quiet. Slowly, she realized she was beginning to feel something stronger than admiration. She cared for him, not because of his position or wealth, but because of who he was when no one was watching, kind, humble, patient. One evening, after a long day, Anna sat by her window with her phone in her hand. The city lights twinkled below, and the cool air drifted through the curtains. She typed a message to David but deleted it twice before sending. Finally, she wrote, "Do you ever feel lonely, even with so many people around you?" She hesitated before pressing send. Minutes passed like hours. Then her phone buzzed. "Yes," his reply read. "Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from not being understood. That is why I value conversations like ours." Anna's eyes grew moist. He felt it too, the quiet emptiness that sometimes lived inside the heart. She whispered softly, "So even he feels lonely." The next day, while Anna was at work, her company received an invitation to a business dinner hosted by the airline. Only a few employees were chosen to attend, and to Anna's surprise, her boss asked her to come along to assist with notes and coordination. Her heart pounded when she heard the news. She knew she would see David again, this time in a grander setting. That evening, Anna dressed carefully in a simple navy dress, nothing too bold. She told herself she was only going for work, yet inside her chest, her heart beat fast with both fear and hope. The dinner was held in a large hall, bright with chandeliers and filled with the murmur of voices. Business leaders, managers, and partners gathered around long tables. Anna kept to her place quietly, taking notes for her boss. But her eyes often strayed toward the head of the room where David stood, greeting guests with grace. When their eyes finally met, he gave her a small smile that only she seemed to notice. It was enough to make her cheeks grow warm. Later, during a break, David walked over to where she stood near the corner. "I'm glad you came," he said softly, away from the noise. Anna lowered her eyes. "I wasn't sure I belonged here." "You belong wherever you choose to stand," David replied. His tone carried a weight that made her chest tighten. For a few seconds, silence stretched between them, filled only by the hum of conversation around the hall. Anna wanted to tell him how much his words meant to her, how they gave her courage in ways she could not explain. But fear held her back. She was afraid of crossing a line she didn't fully understand. David seemed to sense her struggle. "Anna," he said gently, "in this world, many people want to be close because of what they can gain. But you never asked for anything. That is rare." Anna looked up into his eyes, and for a moment, the noise of the hall disappeared. She saw not a powerful CEO, not a wealthy man, but a human being, lonely, searching, yet strong. Before she could answer, Someone called his name from across the hall, and he gave her an apologetic smile. "We'll talk later," he promised, before stepping away. That night, back in her apartment, Anna lay awake thinking about his words. Her feelings had grown too strong to hide. She admired his humility, his honesty, and the way he noticed her heart when others didn't. But she also feared the distance between them, the difference in their worlds. On the other side of the city, David sat alone in his quiet study. His life was full of people, yet empty of closeness. He had trusted very few, because too often he had been valued for his title, not for his soul. But with Anna, things were different. She treated him as a person first, not as an owner or a leader. For the first time in years, David wondered if he could allow himself to trust again. The night stretched long, with both Anna and David lying awake in different corners of the same city, their hearts restless with feelings neither of them had spoken aloud. And though neither knew what tomorrow would bring, both felt the same truth rising quietly inside: something deeper was beginning, something that could change them forever. The following days brought a quiet change in Anna's heart. Her daily routine at work felt brighter, her evenings less lonely. She often caught herself smiling whenever her phone buzzed, knowing David's words would be waiting. Their conversations had become a gentle thread tying her days together, steady and comforting. Yet along with joy came an ache she could not ignore. She knew who David was: someone powerful, respected, and admired by many. She, on the other hand, was just starting her career, living in a small apartment, barely managing her expenses. The difference between them stood like a wall in her mind, and sometimes she wondered if the bond they shared was only a dream too fragile to last. One Friday, while Anna was finishing some reports, she overheard her colleagues speaking in hushed voices near the break room. "They say Mr. David never lets anyone close," one whispered. "He's always polite, but careful. Many try to get his attention, but he keeps his distance." "Of course," another added, "people only want him for his money or power. Who would he ever trust?" Anna turned away, her chest tightening. Their words were not cruel, only casual, but they echoed her deepest fear. Would he ever truly trust someone like me? That evening, she walked home slower than usual. Her phone buzzed once with a short message from David: "Did you eat dinner? Don't skip meals." Anna read it 3 times before putting her phone down without replying. For the first time, she hesitated. She didn't want her doubts to spill into their conversations, but her heart felt heavy with questions. The next day, she received an unexpected call from Maria, her colleague. "Anna, you won't believe this," Maria said excitedly. "The airline is organizing a charity event next weekend. Our company has been invited to join, and Mr. Harris wants us to attend. You'll be there too." Anna agreed politely, though inside she felt nervous. Another event meant another chance to see David, but also another reminder of the world he belonged to, a world far from hers. When the evening of the charity event arrived, Anna dressed in her best outfit, a modest light blue dress she had bought years ago. She stepped into the large hall, filled with glittering lights, elegant guests, and music that floated through the air. Everyone seemed confident, their laughter and conversations blending into a melody of wealth and ease. Anna kept to one side, helping her boss with notes and schedules. She felt small among the crowd, though she tried to hide it. Then David entered. He looked calm as always, yet his presence drew attention instantly. People greeted him eagerly, shaking his hand, offering smiles. He responded kindly, but with the same measured distance Anna had seen before. His eyes, however, searched the room quietly until they found her. He walked over with that same gentle smile. "Anna," he said softly, "I'm glad you came." Her heart warmed, but doubt quickly cooled it. She forced a small smile. "I'm only here for work." David studied her face carefully, sensing something unspoken. "Are you well?" he asked. Yes, Anna answered quickly, though her voice was thinner than usual. Throughout the evening, David was pulled into many conversations with business leaders and guests. Anna watched from afar, her chest tightening again. He looked so natural in this world, confident, respected, admired by all. She felt like a shadow in the corner, unnoticed, unimportant. At one point, a woman in a sparkling gown leaned close to David, speaking with bright laughter. He responded politely, as he always did, but Anna's heart sank. She reminded herself it was none of her business, yet she couldn't stop the ache rising within. Later, when the event ended and guests began to leave, David found her near the exit. His eyes were calm but questioning. "You've been quiet tonight." Anna looked down, unable to meet his gaze. "I don't belong in this world," she whispered. "I see the way people respect you, the way they admire you. And I'm just me." For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Then David spoke firmly, his voice low but steady. "Anna, don't measure yourself against what you see tonight. These people respect my title, not me. But you, from the very first moment, you saw me as a person, not as a name or an owner. That is why I value you." Her eyes lifted slowly, meeting his. There was no pride in his expression, only sincerity. Yet her doubt lingered. "But what if one day you see me as too small?" David's gaze softened. "Greatness is not in wealth or power, Anna. It is in the heart. And your heart is not small." Her throat tightened with emotion. She wanted to believe him, to trust his words, but fear still pulled at her. She gave a faint nod, unable to speak more. That night, as she lay in bed, Anna's thoughts twisted like tangled threads. She longed for his closeness but feared the gap between their worlds. She wondered if her feelings were foolish, if this connection could ever survive reality. And across the city, David sat in silence, looking out of his window. He had seen the doubt in her eyes, and it pained him. For years, he had built walls to protect himself from false intentions. But now, for the first time, he wanted someone to see beyond the walls. He whispered softly into the empty room, "If only she could see how much she means." Both hearts carried the same weight of doubt, and neither knew how close they were to a turning point that would test the strength of their bond. The following week brought a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy for Anna. She had been carrying her feelings quietly for weeks, unsure how to express them. Each message from David was a thread connecting them, but silence often filled the spaces between. Tonight, however, everything felt different. David had called earlier, asking if she could meet him after work for a short walk in the park. Anna agreed, her heart pounding. She had no idea what he wanted to talk about, but the invitation felt like a bridge, one that could bring clarity to the unspoken words between them. As she stepped into the park, the late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the paths. Children ran near the playground, birds chirped softly, and the gentle rustle of leaves filled the air. Anna spotted David sitting on a wooden bench, calm as always. He waved gently, and she walked toward him, feeling both excitement and fear. "Hello, Anna," he said warmly. "I'm glad you came." She nodded, settling beside him. Silence fell between them, but it was comfortable, like the pause between two musical notes. David spoke first. "I wanted to see you in person, away from the offices and events. There are things I need to say, truths that I hope will make things clearer." Anna's chest tightened. She looked at him, waiting. "I know the past weeks have been strange for you," he continued. "Meeting me on the plane, seeing me at your workplace, the events. It may feel like I belong in a different world." Anna nodded slowly, unsure of what to say. "I also know that you may feel small beside me," David said gently. "But Anna, greatness is not about wealth, power, or influence. It is about honesty, kindness, and courage. And you have shown all these from the very first moment we met. Her eyes grew moist, and she swallowed hard. But I'm just me. Ordinary. I have nothing to offer someone like you beyond, just honesty. David reached out, placing his hand lightly over hers. That just honesty is everything. It is rare to meet someone who sees beyond appearances, someone who values the person inside rather than the world outside. Anna's heart raced. She wanted to speak, but words tangled in her throat. Instead, she let him hold her hand, feeling the steady warmth and calm that had always drawn her to him. I need to be honest too, David continued. For years, I have built walls around my heart. People want me for what I own, not who I am. I have always feared being seen only as a title, as a name. But with you, Anna, I feel understood. I feel that maybe it is possible to trust again. Anna's breath caught. The fear and doubt she had carried for weeks seemed to melt away. I have felt the same, she whispered. I was afraid you would never see me for who I am. I didn't want to impose or seem small beside you. David smiled, squeezing her hand gently. You are not small. Not ever. And you never will be in my eyes. I want you to know that. Tears filled Anna's eyes, but she did not try to hide them. Instead, she let them fall freely, feeling a release she hadn't realized she needed. Thank you, for being honest. For seeing me. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. And thank you, Anna, for being yourself. That is more than enough. It is everything. They sat together quietly for a few moments, hands entwined, hearts aligned. The world around them continued its rhythm, but in that small space, time seemed to pause. Anna realized something important in that silence. Love, trust, and connection were not about equal wealth, status, or achievements. They were about the willingness to see another's heart and to be seen in return. I think I was afraid of wanting this too much, she admitted softly. David laughed quietly, a sound full of relief and warmth. It's okay to want it. What matters is that we choose honesty, courage, and patience along the way. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows on the path. The park seemed quieter, as if it too were holding its breath for this new beginning. David stood and offered his hand to her. Shall we walk? He asked. Anna took his hand, feeling a thrill of hope and certainty. As they strolled along the tree-lined path, she realized that the journey ahead would not be easy. Life had challenges, moments of doubt, and unexpected turns. But with someone who truly saw her heart, even the hardest paths felt lighter. I'm glad fate brought us together, Anna said softly. So am I, David replied, smiling. And now, we move forward together. For the first time in their separate lives, both felt the completeness that comes from understanding and being understood. The distance between their worlds did not matter anymore. What mattered was the connection they had built, honest and unwavering. As the evening settled into night, the city lights glimmered like stars around them. And walking side by side, Anna and David felt that no matter what tomorrow brought, they had found something rare and beautiful, a bond that could endure, a love born from respect, trust, and the courage to be truly seen.